So you're
Okay,
going
good.
to come back at the at 13 or 14?
Uh, 13th.
13th. Okay.
Come back on the 13th.
Okay. So then you need some few days to take a rest, and then we can go back to our podcast.
Yeah, back on the 16th, no problem.
All right. Thank you
Or
so much.
15th. Yeah, 16th, Tuesday the 16th.
Right. Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cheyenne's Forum. Today is December 2nd. I just want to say sorry to everybody. It's a little bit technical difficulty, so we delayed for 15 minutes. And thank you, Tom, my dear friend, to come to our podcast today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, we have a lot of big topic today, but before we start our conversation, I'd like to introduce Tom to our audience. Tom worked in FBI for 30 years, and he worked as Assistant Director of FBI for 5 years, and he's now retired. Thank you so much for coming to the program. So first thing first, Tom, Maduro is his final count is here. So maybe the final minutes, he become the president of the Venezuela. So right now we have 11 U.S. warships are in Caribbean, and special force and CIA units are already operating inside Venezuela. Airspace fully closed, and Trump demanding his immediately removal. So, what do you think about the situation in Venezuela right now?
Well, I think it sounds similar to what we did several years ago against the president of Panama, Noriega. And he was involved in drug trafficking, and he was charged with drug trafficking by a U.S. court. And so we ended up sending troops in there and arresting him, bringing him back to the U.S.,
Hmm.
where he went to a U.S. prison. But I think that Venezuela will be a lot more difficult of a country to conquer
Hmm.
and take control of the president than Panama was. So we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. I think what Trump and the U.S. military are hoping for is that internally somebody will take him out, and his own people will remove him, or there'll be some type of a coup in the country that won't involve the U.S. invading, because I think it'll be a very difficult task to invade that country.
Hmm. Why you say it's very difficult?
Because they're going to have they have a stronger military, they have more territory. It's a lot bigger and stronger of a country than Panama was.
Hmm. So, if the inside job doesn't work, so do you think eventually we're going to have a wall to them?
Sounds like it.
Okay.
Everything they're saying and hinting at sounds like we're sooner or later we're going to attack
Mm-hmm.
and take Maduro out.
Wow. So, what do you think
Now, and
about
the one thing, if I could stop for a second, historically,
Ray?
the one thing that we have history, I guess, on the side of the U.S. is that that country was one of the most economically sound countries in all of Latin America,
Mm-hmm.
Central and South America.
Mm-hmm.
And Maduro takes over, and through his policies of socialism and communism, has driven that country down tremendously. Now,
Right.
not all the way down. They still have a military, and he still has power, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, economically, agriculturally,
Mm-hmm.
it's not the same as it was before he took power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, what do you think about the best choice of Maduro right now for him just to
I
leave?
think the best choice would be for him to leave and get asylum somewhere else,
Mm-hmm.
find another country that'll take him in,
Mm-hmm.
or that we make an agreement with him and the other country. If you take him in, we won't bother you and we won't bother him.
Right, right. It sounds good to himself and to his family as well. But why he still does not want to do it so far?
Well,
And
these guys don't want to give up power. Look at Saddam Hussein in Iraq when
Mhm.
we began in 2002 and 2003 threatening him. And then
Mm-hmm.
eventually, March of 2003, we invaded.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there starting in early July,
Mm-hmm.
uh, in charge of the FBI delegation or group that we had in Iraq. And
Mm-hmm.
then finally, the group after me arrested Saddam Hussein.
Mm-hmm.
And then the American army turned him over to Iraqi authorities. And
Right.
then they prosecuted him and convicted him and eventually hung him.
Right.
So, but that didn't happen for a while. I mean, we were there. The invasion was in March, and we pretty much by May, you
Mm-hmm.
had Bush declaring mission accomplished and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But Saddam Hussein wasn't captured until the fall. Some I forget if October, November,
Mm-hmm.
sometime around then when he was captured.
Right. Right. So, so this is for Saddam Hussein himself. It's a personal strategy. But I just wonder what if the inside job doesn't work, then we need to invade this country. So that is a wall. So the wall need to be approved by Congress. Do you think it will happen?
No, I think we'll go forward with or without Congress. I think what Trump is saying is that the preemptive strike is that they are trafficking so much fentanyl into the United States that in itself, that's an act of war against us.
Mm-hmm,
And that
exactly.
therefore stopping that production
Mm-hmm,
and taking out Maduro would be similar to taking out Noriega for the drug trafficking he allowed to happen into the United States. So I think that, that's the argument is that the drugs being transported, especially fentanyl, into the US,
mm-hmm.
that's basically poisoning Americans and in itself is an act of war against the United States.
Hmm. So by the law, if some country start the war to us, then we can just fight back. Then we do not need the Congress to declare war.
Well, we've attacked several places. In the case of Iraq, I think we had Congress basically saying, well, they won't oppose it if Bush wants to go in or do something. They didn't actually say we declare war. I
Hmm.
think the last time we had a full declaration of war was the famous speech by Franklin Delano Roosevelt on December 8th, in front of the U.S. Congress. And even then, he said, since the dastardly attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th, a date that'll live in infamy, a state of war exists between the Empire of Japan and the United States. So he wasn't telling Congress, oh, please give me a declaration of war, pretty please. He just said, we're at war. And
Hmm.
everybody agreed, okay, we're at war.
Hmm. So seems like if we have to invade Venezuela, there is no legal barrier over there.
Well, that could be decided at some point in the future. The Supreme Court could say, poisoning all these thousands of Americans with fentanyl is not enough justification to invade the country or to remove the president of the country. But I don't think Trump and most people pretty much are saying, do it, take them out.
Great, great.
Stop the drugs. Stop, because what's happened with Trump closing the border since he became president for land crossings from Mexico into the US.
Mhm,
And so now what the worry is coming in by airplane or by boat.
mhm,
And the thing is with if you were looking at cocaine or marijuana, some of the choices in the past, heroin, the
mhm,
volume of the material is huge. Giant bales of the drugs, uh, giant containers containing it. But with fentanyl, a little eyedropper full can kill millions of people.
yeah.
So that's the difference is that's why you see the military attacking those almost like giant canoes
Mhm,
and saying they're bringing in drugs. They
mhm,
have intelligence coming from the people, from Venezuela itself
mhm,
that leads them to believe that even though there's only 5 or 6 or 8 people on those little boats,
Mhm.
That's all it takes for them to paddle across the Caribbean
Mhm.
into the United States or into Mexico or into somewhere where those little bottles of drugs can come into the U.S.
Right, right. So, Tom, do you believe there are bigger reason um, to invade Venezuela and to take off the Maduro than the drug itself? Of course, the drug is a big issue, a huge issue. Is that only because of the drug or some other thing behind? For example, like foreign influence in Venezuela, which is a threat to U.S. Security. Is that the other reason?
Could be, could be.
Hmm.
And I think that for now, it seems that Trump is using the drugs as the primary justification to do it.
Hmm.
So what else is going on? As I mentioned, part of the other justification could be that many Venezuelans themselves,
Hmm.
including the woman who actually got the Nobel Peace Prize,
Hmm.
and after she got it, said it really should have been Trump.
Right.
And
I
she's
remember
just
that.
about, she's a anti-Maduro, hoping the regime change happens and all of that. She's practically begging Trump, please fix our country, please take him out so we can
Hmm.
go back to, being a prosperous
Hmm.
capitalist country like we used to be.
Hmm.
And so, I think that's partly what, Trump is, I think, depending on public support in Venezuela to
Hmm.
return Venezuela. Right now, it's a welfare state. The people are starving. The economy's in big trouble.
Hmm.
And you have this woman basically saying, help us, help the people.
Right. So, just give us a quick review about how important geographically, politically, and strategically Venezuela is important to the U.S.
I think just from the standpoint, if it's I guess, an island, a socialist location supporting socialism, and during the Biden administration, they were, as Trump had mentioned, emptying their jails and mental institutions and sending those people to the United States, sending the drugs to the United States. And I think that from that standpoint, um, that was causing great harm in the US. And so I think the idea is to cut that off, cut the immigration, cut the drug trafficking, and cut the person that's basically the main cause, Maduro himself.
Mhm. Yeah. So, how long do you think Maduro can stay as a president of Venezuela from today? A
I don't
week?
know. A lot of military analysts and others are saying not long. It's a matter of weeks or maybe a couple months, but
Mhm.
he's not going to make it. And it sounds much like the prelude to the Iraq War in
Mhm.
2002 and into 2003. And then
Mhm.
we actually invade in March of 2003.
Mhm.
Now, and at the same time, you had Dick Cheney, the vice president, and others saying, if we invade and take Saddam Hussein out, they'll be the people will be greeting our soldiers with flowers and, all of this that,
Mhm.
didn't quite happen that way. But, I think at that point, they just looked at it like, okay, if Iraq, they made up the story that Saddam Hussein was developing weapons of mass destruction, and
Mhm.
therefore
Mhm.
that was the excuse me, that was the main reason.
Mhm. Right. 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 Yeah. Since you mentioned about Dick Cheney, do you want to say a little something about him? What do you think about him? What do you think he's a good VP, vice president? Do you think he's a very good Republican? What do you think about him?
I personally don't have a huge amount of respect for him. I think that he basically, when you go back to Bush gets elected president, and
Hmm.
Bush is trying to figure out who should he pick for a vice president. So he selects Dick Cheney
Hmm.
to help him select the vice president. And
Hmm.
Cheney, of course, selects himself. and that's how he got to be vice president. And
Mhm.
during Bush's first term, which is when the invasion happened, um, I think that he was pretty much considered a war hawk or neocon or all of those things. And a lot of people felt like Bush was kind of his puppet. And even Bush later came to think that.
Right.
So later, what happens is that when there's the investigation of Dick Cheney
Mhm.
by a special prosecutor, that special prosecutor, by the way, at the time, Fitzgerald was the U.S. attorney in Chicago.
Mhm.
He was selected, and about 50 FBI agents were assigned to him to look into Cheney and Scooter Libby leaking the name of a CIA agent who was operating in several places, including in Africa. And they identified her in public, which was illegal.
Mhm.
So Scooter Libby was charged with that crime,
Mhm.
and and he was found guilty. And but he was crying out loud, basically,
Mhm.
I'll never go to jail. I can't go to jail. I can't. I'll do anything. I can't go to prison. Well, normally, in organized crime cases, and once Fitzgerald used to be an organized crime prosecutor in New York, in the Eastern District of New York.
He knows
And
very well.
so that was kind of like our standard strategy in those kind of organized crime is
Mhm.
get the underling or the one just under the boss
Mhm.
and have them testify against the boss. And that's how you get the boss
Mhm.
to be convicted. And so Libby, um, Cheney is begging President Bush, to pardon him. So he doesn't have to worry about going to jail. He'll get his law license back, and he won't have any incentive to say anything bad about Dick Cheney.
Mhm.
And so Bush doesn't pardon him. He commutes the sentence,
Mhm.
which basically means Scooter Libby is crying that, oh, I can't go to jail. And because the sentence was commuted, it takes away the prison. So
Mhm.
now he's not going to go to jail. And when
Mhm.
that happened, basically the case against Cheney evaporated
Mhm.
because Scooter Libby had no incentive to testify against Dick Cheney.
Right, right.
And so when that happened, Dick Cheney, widely known that was so upset with Bush that he and Bush never really talked to each other again the rest of the presidency.
Well, so that's so weird because he was the vice president, of
He
course.
was the vice president.
Right. And so the president is his boss, of course. But why he is just feel so powerful, even he's more powerful than the president, where this confidence and
Well,
power.
he had developed that power, inside Washington fighter and getting what he wants and all of that.
Mhm.
Uh, in the Defense Department, in the White House, chief of staff, and
Mhm.
then vice president. So yeah, he had tremendous amount of power,
Mhm.
and Bush almost gave into it, but he commuted the sentence, which is interesting. To me, it was kind of a big act of bravery on the part of
Right.
George W. Bush,
Uh-huh.
to at least commute the sentence, but not give him a full pardon.
Mhm.
So it really kind of, Cheney had been the behind the scenes leader. He was more than vice president. A lot of people felt that he was de facto president uh, during the first term. But after this, Bush basically stopped listening to everything Cheney was saying.
Mhm. So he has his own mind. It's a little bit like Obama behind Joe Biden, but Obama is more serious.
Yeah.
And Google and Business Cheney. So yeah, talk about well, thank you so much for giving us the little history story. It's very convinced that what kind of person Dick Cheney was. And for the Venezuela, Hack says a strike on the drug boat and killed two survivors at September 2nd. And yesterday, when I saw the White House conference, the reporters keep asking the question. They asking for the legal. status of the second strike on the boat, which killed the two survivors.
Right.
So, on a legal point of view, what do you think about this action? Is this legal? Is this what we need to do?
That's a good question. I think from the military standpoint, they're saying that, if these guys survive the attack,
Mhm.
then they can get another boat and do it, continue doing it, continue bringing drugs to the United States. Now, we haven't signed a Geneva Convention, I don't think, with Venezuela, where there's an agreement that you won't shoot if people surrender, they surrender, they get taken alive. Or if they're in a position where they can't wage war, in this case, or continue to ride that canoe or boat that's
Right.
been destroyed and they're just straggling in the water. So yeah, it's an interesting legal question,
Uh-huh.
uh, if that's the case.
Well, so yeah, you give us a very interesting, and I think it's really important information is about the Geneva Agreement between American and Venezuela. So what's
Well,
the
if I don't know if Venezuela has ever signed the agreement or if we've signed it with them. So if they're not signatories to the agreement,
Mhm.
then the reason we would follow the Geneva Convention normal rules would be that the country we're fighting against is someone that signed that agreement. But I don't know.
Okay. So if they sign the agreement with the US, what's the situation will be?
Well, then it would be an interpretation of are the people in the water continuing to be combatants or
Right,
future combatants?
right.
Or is the war over and they should be captured alive and put in jail or whatever we're going to do? So I think that, that there's a wide area of interpretation in that,
Hmm.
um, whether they've surrendered or not, because even if the boat is no longer operable,
Hmm.
doesn't mean that they are incapable of
Right,
being picked up or rescued or going back to attack us.
right. So what is the standard procedure when you're in the battlefield or in the war? So what kind of a status you can keep the enemies. You have to when you, for example, is because this is really new to me, or maybe it's new to our lots of our audience. So if someone, the enemies, we hear the enemies, and he's not die, but he's not surrender as well. Do we have the legal right to kill them?
Well, normally we would take them, arrest them basically, and put them in, prison and not kill them
Uh,
normally.
right,
But with this is kind of a vague war
right,
situation.
right,
These drugs being shipped to the United States,
right,
because is that the same as sending a bomb to the United States, or a couple of tubes of containing fentanyl can do as much damage
right,
probably as a nuclear bomb.
right,
So
right.
if they're delivering that, and if these guys are responsible for taking that into our country,
Hmm.
then they're basically warriors against us.
Hmm.
And at the very least, you would take them into custody and treat
Hmm.
them as war criminals or whatever. But in this case, it's kind of vague
Hmm.
exactly to what extent. And that was kind of the argument when we invaded Iraq. At what point are you preserving or preventing yourself from being attacked,
Hmm.
preempting an
Hmm.
attack on us, so therefore that you have the right to attack that country?
Hmm.
These are kind of vague areas. It's not as clear. If you remember during Afghanistan, there was a big argument that, we were killing Taliban soldiers or Afghan soldiers on the battlefield.
Hmm.
And the argument people made was, well, they're not wearing military uniforms. They're
Hmm. Hmm.
wearing their big
Right.
cloaks, gowns, and all of that. Does that qualify?
Hmm.
So it was never resolved, other than we consider them military combatants.
Hmm.
So we
Right.
attack.
Right. So yeah, I think the first priority is protect yourself in a battlefield. So whatever you do to protect yourself, you should do that.
Well, that would normally be, a self-defense argument. If you're
Right.
protecting yourself personally
Hmm.
against these guys, okay. But if you're technically protecting the country,
Hmm.
as a, preemptive strike against them to keep them from being able to poison Americans,
Hmm.
then it's a little more of a vague area. And I don't think any of those
Hmm.
uh, areas have really been defined
Right.
because we haven't had a case go to them,
Right.
go to the
Right.
Supreme Court.
Yeah. And one thing I think I can make sure, one detail, but it's very critical detail is there is no sign that these two survivors want to surrender. They did not give any sign of surrender. So they have the second strike and kill them. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing your experience and knowledge about this topic. So this is we talk about Venezuela, we talk about the drug war to our country, and I totally agree with you. This is a war, and the drugs, the fentanyl, is weapon. It's
Yeah.
not only drug. This is a weapon. We're in the war, and Zelensky. Right now, it's in his critical time. I just saw a reporter said that Zelensky ordered to resign, forced out in the handcuffed if he refused. The information is from Ukraine PM. His name is Artem. Had just dropped a political information, huge information in his Telegram channel, and he said Zelensky has been ordered to leave the presidency within days, but he did not provide information about who ordered him to do so. And he says Zelensky may refuse to do so, and he expect to stay for time and invent excuses. If he resists, he may have to be forced out in handcuffs. So, what do you think about the situation? Is that um, reasonable or predictable?
Yeah, I think they're laying the groundwork basically to take Zelensky out one way or the other.
Mhm.
And by the other, I mean kill him because he was not reelected president. Remember, he canceled the elections a couple of years ago.
Right.
So in essence, he's been kind of a dictator.
Hmm.
And people within his own country, much less people within the US or Russia, if they're looking at the only reason they can't get a peace treaty agreed to is Zelensky
Hmm.
because he wants to stay in power
Hmm.
because of his own ego. I don't think anybody considers him a great patriot and he's doing this for the good of his country. He's over 1 million Iraqis have been killed on the battlefield thanks
Hmm.
to him.
Right.
And then how many more millions have been refugees to other nearby European countries?
Hmm.
So Zelensky, for the last couple of years, has been doing nothing to benefit his country and everything that actually hurts Ukraine, the
Hmm.
Ukrainian population, and everything else.
Hmm.
And I think that in many ways, Putin has just been kind of playing with him. Uh, and with the Iraq killing Iraqi soldiers and hoping that at some point somebody will remove Zelensky,
You
either
mean?
he himself or
Mhm.
insiders or a coup within the country
Mhm.
or the US or the CIA and MI6 from Great Britain
Mhm.
to so Zelensky is he's swimming in shark infested waters
Mhm.
and we'll see how long he's going to be able to survive that.
So his situation is a little similar to Maduro, right?
Yeah.
Right. So so it
The
seems
only
like
difference is that Maduro's been supporting drug trafficking that's killing Americans.
hmm.
Zelensky isn't directly attacking Americans,
Hmm.
uh, and we haven't deployed troops on the battlefield in Ukraine
Hmm.
or in nearby countries that way. So in essence, the main damage that Zelensky is doing is to his own country.
Right. Right. It's very important that their people
Right,
knows what kind of person he is and their people want to take him out.
right.
So really depends on people from Ukraine. So how long you think he can stay there as the president? If
I
you,
can't I can't believe he's still the president. So this has taken a lot longer. I would have thought they would have taken him out one way or the other
right.
even more than a year ago.
Hmm.
So there he is. He still is surviving somehow.
Well, we'll see. Maduro's future and Zelensky's future. It will be very interesting to see them to say, okay, I'm just quit at the same day. I think that will make that day the biggest day in the history. But anyway, we'll stay in tune. So you think that it will happen sooner or
I
later,
think at
right?
some point, yeah.
Okay, great, great, great. And also, we talk about the White House. Right now, defends the pardon for the ex-Honduras president. President Trump just gave him the pardon, and some people are not happy, saying that he is drug trafficking. Um, so, what do you think about the pardon, and how about his drug trafficking issue?
I don't know the details of his drug trafficking and all of that. And I don't know the details of how he was prosecuted and in Honduras and how uh, Trump feels justified, let's say, in
Mhm.
sticking his nose in it, weighing his opinion that he should be pardoned or should not be prosecuted. So I don't know enough about that situation and about him personally.
Right. Do you know why he come here to the States to have the legal processing? Because he was the president of Honduras. So do you know when that happened?
No,
Okay.
no, I don't know enough about that one.
Yeah, it's just a little weird, huh? Yeah,
A
but
little.
according to the speaker person, Levate, she said he was opposes the value of the previous administration, and they charged him because he was the president of Honduras. It's like a political prosecution, so that's why
Right.
Trump just gave him the pardon. So yeah, I'll check out why he was brought here to have the legal processing, though. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then what do you think there are something very important that our audience need to know during these 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think right now, one of the big stories, and I was reading a couple of reports and looking at a couple of postings about the people that supposedly within the FBI gave information to Miranda Devine at the New York Post of this tremendous internal battle at the FBI, management level of FBI. Now, the question there, the report that supposedly it's about a 168-page report written about the this group of mid and senior level FBI agents, apparently, but they don't identify who, and they
Mhm,
don't use their own names or any name, but
mhm,
it's just this massive internal uh, group that basically says Cash Patel and Dan Bongino are not competent, not good leaders of the FBI, and all of that. Now the problem with all of this is that since they're not identified and haven't come forward,
mhm,
we don't know exactly who is putting this out. Where is this coming from?
mhm,
And if nobody is standing out publicly to say what's going on, but
mhm,
just trying to infer that Cash Patel is not competent and Bongino is not competent, then that's kind of mysterious. That now, on the other hand, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Miranda Devine. She was the one that, she wrote the book and published all the information about Hunter Biden's laptop
mhm.
whenever everybody said it wasn't true. And she was saying, yeah, it is true.
Right, right,
And so, so she's been a tremendous reporter,
right,
great reputation.
right.
Um, not like some of the reporters that we've seen at CNN or MSNBC
I
or
like
some of
that.
the other channels that
Mhm,
are obviously biased
Mm-hmm.
against the administration. And one of the things she's saying that these are FBI personnel that are loyal to Trump, and that they feel that Patel and Bongino aren't really cleaning house out like they are supposed to, like they said they would.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to need way more information to come out about this.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very difficult because, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people, including me, have a tremendous amount of respect for her as a reporter and
Right,
her integrity.
right.
So
Well,
I
that.
think there's going to have to be more come out. This, because in a way, it sounds a little bit like the 50 some members of the CIA that said that the Hunter laptop, was phony information from Russia and
Mm-hmm.
all of that, when that turned out that the Hunter laptop was true.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, is the information that she's getting, is it true, or is it from people that are deep state people within the FBI that have been there all along and
Mm-hmm.
have not been weeded out yet?
Mm-hmm.
So again, more to come, and you know, more information needs to come out about that.
Right, right. Well, this is very interesting and important information
Yeah,
because
it's very important.
very, very important because these positions are critical. So important, so important. And also Pembondi. There are so many people are not very happy about what her job has done. And I saw um, General Flynn actually post his thought
Yeah, I
about,
saw that.
yeah. So there are some voice about the Justice Department and also FBI for the Cash Patel and Dan Bongino. So I know this is very difficult to judge their job because it's a very difficult job, and then we do not have enough information to judge that. But from your because you work in FBI for 30 years and you know how complicated FBI is and the whole processing. What do you think Kashi Patel and Dan Bongino, they are on their position for 11 months, almost 11 months. Do you think that they actually done a good job from the result or processing?
It's hard on the outside to tell, even now. I'm
Right.
looking at it like,
Mhm.
the results speak for themselves when people go to jail, when people get arrested, the so-called perp walk.
Right.
And we're just not seeing a lot of that from DOJ.
Right.
So some of the criticism of them and of Pam Bondi, in a lot of ways, I watched these interviews with Flynn, and I think he's
Mhm.
absolutely right. What's
Mhm.
going on? Why is this? It's going beyond just taking a long time. It's
Mhm.
going along, just it just doesn't look right, even from my standpoint, because the investigative prowess of the FBI is second to none. It used to be second to none in the world.
Mhm.
And now all of a sudden we see these cases, they take forever, they're floundering,
Mhm.
or and it's not just the FBI, what's the situation with the prosecution of Comey
Right.
and
Yeah.
and what's
Information.
her name and why did that get thrown out? And that's a
Right.
temporary setback.
Right.
And what was wrong with the appointment of
Right.
the U.S. attorney,
Right. Right.
uh,
Right.
uh, to carry out her duties. So I think to me, there's still too many questions of what's going on internally.
Right.
And I think at some point here, what Trump is probably looking at internally is, are the people that helped write this 168-page report,
Mhm.
is much of that report false, and it's a vendetta against Patel and Bongino
Right.
by the deep state.
Right.
So that's where the problem is. Who is engineering these attacks on them,
Right.
and are they legitimate? Are they true?
Right. Right. Very complicated. Very. Wow. Thank you so much. Yeah, and thank you for mentioning
I mean,
Comey.
I look at, I can have my own criticisms of the demeanor of what a director should be, or what deputy director or senior executive.
Mhm.
And and I could tell you I did many press conferences during my time in the FBI, major organized crime cases that we had and all of that. When the FBI goes into a house or an apartment that
Mhm.
has drug traffickers or gangsters or organized crime people, and especially if there's going to be other law enforcement agencies involved.
Right.
So and I've had several of those where we had FBI and DEA, HSI, Homeland Security Investigations,
Mhm.
all of these different organizations participating in a major street operation, let's say.
Mhm.
And yeah, everybody puts on your raid jacket. I have my raid jacket with the FBI letters on it.
Mhm.
And you wear that so that everybody knows you're a good guy. And it's somebody from another agency that doesn't know you, doesn't shoot you.
Mhm.
Now, doing the press conference after the takedown, when everybody's in custody, when everything is safe, to me, I don't know, it was unprofessional, in my opinion, to be
Mhm.
wearing the FBI raid jacket when you're not on a raid. So when you're doing a press conference and you see all the executives from the different agencies and the prosecutors,
Mhm.
at the front, some going to the podium and some not,
Mhm.
uh, to me, I think it's immature for Patel to wear an FBI raid jacket when you're not on the raid
Mhm.
at the microphone. That microphone is not going to bite you, and he should be in a suit, my opinion.
Right.
Shirt, tie, suit. Now, if it's an emergency and you're out in the wilderness and you've just had this big shootout in the woods or something, that's different.
Right.
But in this situation, there's no more shooting, there's no more danger.
You
The
don't wear.
tactical operation is over, and
Mhm.
you wear one set of clothes for tactical operations
Mhm.
and another set of clothes when you're an executive, as an executive. And so to me, it diminishes him, and especially, truthfully, he's not very tall.
Mhm.
You have these other executives come in and I'm almost 6'1". And, for someone his height to put on all this stuff, it just looks kind of immature to me.
Mhm.
His title is enough. And if he dresses like an executive in a suit and tie, then that should speak for itself.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. It's a detail. Thank you. Really appreciate you provide this detail. It actually speaks a lot about this person or a part of his personality.
Well, and I'm sure I'll get, hate mail from some people that think, how dare you criticize him? He's proud to be an FBI director. He's proud to put on a jacket. Well, that's fine. It's just inappropriate
Right,
at these times when he's wearing it.
right, right. And he should know that.
Should.
Right, right.
So
Oh,
maybe this is really unfair, but to me, it just reminds me of, the little man trying to be a big man.
it looks like
Sorry,
it
sorry,
looks
but that's how
like
I
that.
see it.
So, meaning that his inside is maybe not strong, powerful enough as he try to show people. Okay, so we have our audience, Big Dreams say hi, and you say hi, Tom. Hello, Tom. They say hi to you, Tom. And you said a good point that Tom mentioned. There are no Geneva Conventions binding force between U.S. and Venezuela.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, Tom. Thank you so much. And again, sorry for the delay for today's podcast. And we will resume our program at um, December 16th.
16th, right? 2 weeks from today.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your vacation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you then.
See you. Bye.